All right, well, a busy day to start this Monday, like always. President Trump is calling a couple of Republican congressmen cowards, accusing them of trying to stack the deck against his reelection bid. The GOP majority in the House is in serious peril because of upcoming exits by Congressman Ken Buck. Actually, he's gone now. And Mike Gallagher, he on his way out. Gallagher's early exit in particular raises serious questions about his ethics. You see, he's going to retire in mid-April, but after the April 9th deadline that would have allowed and triggered a special election in his district in Wisconsin, a runoff would have opened the likely opportunity for a Republican to fill that seat, giving Republicans the much-needed additional vote. Instead, the seat will remain vacant because of this decision by Gallagher to basically screw his colleagues. It'll sit open until January, in fact. As it stands now, when the Wisconsin Republican walks away, the GOP will only have one vote to give away. Critics believe this is an organized tactic to put Republicans in the minority leading up to the November elections. They also believe it sets the stage for Democrats to make an attempt to nullify a Trump victory by using the 14th Amendment in an attempt to keep him out of office. If you can't do it and you can't trust the voters to make the decision, you have to try to beat him in the courtroom or try to play some game in Congress because you can't beat him anywhere else. Joining me live now to discuss, former Congressman, Dallas Republican County Chair, is Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Colonel, good to see you.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Steve.
You know, this decision by Gallagher is extraordinarily infuriating because if he left out of before the April 9th, they can have a special election. He's specifically waiting. It's one thing like Ken Buck to walk away like a coward, and I called him a coward when it happened. You were elected to do a job. You campaigned. You begged people to vote for you. And then when it gets tough or you get upset about something, you walk away from the people that you begged to vote for you. I find it reprehensible. What say you?
No, you're absolutely right. And I would think that Representative Buck and Representative Gallagher should come out and explain themselves, or else perception lends itself to reality. And that's what we see happening. One of the things that we dealt with in the military is you always have to have a succession of command. And so if they were making the decision they were going to step down, well, then they should have been planning for someone to step in to backfill them. But in the case of Mr. Gallagher, you see, as you have articulated, that he is doing this seemingly intentional and purposefully to on the other side of having a special election, which means that seat will be gapped, which affects the legislative agenda and the policy agenda going forward with a House majority of Republicans. And it could lend itself to having something very bad happen later on in November if you lose one other person. And if you decide to have some Republicans that want to join over with the Democrats later on, and we know what Jamie Raskin has said he wants to do and bring up there in the United States House of Representatives, a bill that would disqualify Donald Trump from being on the ballot based upon the 14th Amendment, Section 3.
Yeah. So how do we, and they play that game. But are there other Republicans? I mean, you kind of have a better feel for this maybe than I do. You served in the body. Do you have any idea if there are other Republicans so jaded, so anti-Donald Trump or anything like this, that they're willing to leave? I don't see one currently at the forefront, but I didn't see Mike Gallagher pulling this either. So I was at a loss when that happened. Ken Buck kind of lost his way, I would say, in recent years. My opinion, nobody else's. Who else do you see walking away?
Well, I don't know the will of the members of the body, but I would say that if that has happened with Ken Buck and Representative Gallagher, I think that there is a sentiment that is there. And I don't know who the other members may be. I think that we can go back and look at some of the members that have not been very strongly supportive of the former president, maybe some members that voted against the former president. Good thing that we don't have Adam Kinzinger still up there or Liz Cheney, but I think that there's still that mentality with some.
Let me shift gears here for a second because I want to look at the playing field, if you will, for the United States Senate. Because, Larry Hogan is basically a never-Trumper, right? The former governor of Maryland. He's running for U.S. Senate, surprised the Democrats to the point that they're totally shocked. He has a 14-point lead in the polls right now. He's a Republican. He's a, middle-of-the-road squishy Republican. But he is a Republican. A better choice than a Democrat. He has a 14-point lead in Maryland. West Virginia is a foregone conclusion. The Republicans could actually come out and be in control of the United States Senate. By those two seats alone, And if they get lucky and pick up Ohio, which is certainly a 50-50 toss, or Montana, another 50-50 toss, things could look very good for Republicans. And so if Donald Trump wins, he could have something to work with. But you have to have that House as well. And that's why I'm trying to figure out what the game is with these mealy-mouthed, spineless Republicans that we're dealing with currently.
You have to have the House because that's the holder of the purse string, and I know that the Democrats take that a little bit more serious than Republicans do many times. But again, it comes back to, even if you do win the Senate, what type of governing body, majority body, would Republicans be? Would you still have, someone along the lines of a Mitch McConnell as the Senate Majority Leader? So I think that we have to have individuals that will be on board with if it's President Trump, his legislative and policy agenda. And we did not see that when Trump was in the White House and the Republicans had the House and the Senate. We saw a lot of pushback on many of the things that he tried to do. You don't see that with the other side, with the Democrats.
Who do you like? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the Senate and you see some of the people that are vying for that position, who do you like that is more? Mitch McConnell's going to be gone. Mitt Romney's going to be gone. There's that bonus. Who do you like?
Well, I can tell you that down here in Texas, we definitely don't want to see John Cornyn step into that position. I don't know if
we don't want that here either.
Yeah, I don't know if Mr. Thune would be someone, or Mr. Barrasso from Wyoming, but you definitely have to have someone that is going to be a constitutional conservative, someone that will stand up and speak out, and someone that will not cower to the other side, which we see so often. Republicans tend to find excuses for why they can't get something done instead of talking about what they can get done.
How do you feel about Rick Scott, real quick?
Not a big fan, and we can talk about offline about my experiences with him down in Florida.
No, his name's been tossed around. So has Steve Daines. Those are the last two. Any feeling on the last one, Steve Daines? Well, Steve Daines, I think he has been a very strong person. He has spoken out. Coming from far out west where he is, hopefully he can, be influential. But definitely, I don't want to see a Rick Scott in that position. Fair enough. Colonel, that's why we bring you here. Brutal honesty. We like it. And we'll take it every day. Sir, thank you as always. Always a pleasure, and God bless.